Hey everyone! Today on the plastic canvas we're painting the Winged NPC from Destinies by Lucky Duck Games. Hey everyone, Matty from the Plastic Canvas and welcome to the second episode in this Destinies painting series and the first episode in which I'm actually painting a mini, because the first episode in this series was the unboxing, so if you haven't checked that out yet and you'd like to see what the rest of the components look like, make sure you go and check that one out. But today though, we're kicking it off by painting this Winged NPC, and that's the only name that I can use for it because I don't actually know what her name is, because in the Destinies box, the only minis that you know the names of are the characters that you can play as in the various scenarios and chapters of the campaign. Because in each scenario or chapter, whatever you want to call it, there's a various combination of characters that you can choose from, and so those minis have cards so that you can read their destiny on the back. It's got their QR codes that you can be scanning, and it also says their name on the front, but there is no card for this one, and so I have no idea who she is. I don't even know if she's a good or evil character, but I assume at some point in the campaign we'll come across her and then we'll find out who she is, but until then, she's just the Winged NPC. So, because she doesn't have a card, I don't actually have any artwork to base what colours I'm going to be using for her. There's no picture of her in the rulebook or on the box as far as I could tell, so it was completely up to me to choose what colours I was going to be using for her. Now, sometimes that works against you because it can be a little bit tricky to work out what colours you should be using, but in this case I actually found this to make it a lot easier to paint her, because to me, even though I don't know whether she's a good or evil character, she looks to have quite a heroic pose, the way she's taking off from that rock, the sword is outstretched and those big, really cool wings. She definitely looks to me as though she would be a good character, and so when I first started looking at this mini, all I saw were just purples and blues. They were colours that made sense to me for this type of character with those sort of angelic type wings, and so I pictured straight away exactly how I wanted her to look, and so coming up with the colours and the overall colour scheme was really easy. So at the moment I'm just base coating, and I knew straight away that I wasn't going to be spending much time base coating and doing any highlighting or shading at all, because I wanted pretty much all of the time that I spend on this mini to go into those wings. There are lots and lots of other minis to be painting in this game, and so I can't spend too long on one mini, and so whenever I'm painting a mini, and I've talked about this plenty of times in the past, I always try and pick out one key focal point to really make stand out and make a feature of, so that when someone is looking at the mini, their eyes are drawn to a particular part of it, and it was obvious straight away that for this character, it was going to be those wings, and so that's where I want to spend my time. And so that I have time to spend on those wings, I'm keeping the base coating super simple, so all I'm doing is just blocking in the colours and then just leaving it there. So as you saw, I chose a range of sort of purples and magentas to base coat her dress and hair and things like that with, because that's going to tie in really well to the colours that I immediately pictured these wings being. So you can see I'm starting to base coat the wings here with a really deep purple, and I'm doing purple for kind of the top 2 layers of the feathers, and then the bottom layers of the feathers that I haven't painted yet, I'll be painting them blue. Now, the approach that I'm going to be taking to painting these wings is the same as how I painted this wing here that's on the Free Spirit from Etherfields. So you can see here that I've picked out each individual feather and painted it from a dark color through to a very, very light color at the tip, and I've got that brown and blue sort of double layer thing going on there as well. And as soon as I saw these wings here on this character, I knew I wanted to paint it in the same way because I thought that wing came out really, really well, but the brown didn't really match the character. And so with this Winged NPC, I'm changing the brown to purple because I thought purple suited this type of character more than brown. But I'm going to be painting in the same sort of way, so I'll be picking out each individual wing and blending it from either the dark purple or dark blue through to a super light blue or purple, pretty much white as we get to the end of the tip of each wing. And what that'll do is first of all bring out a whole heap of detail because it will make each individual feather really stand out, but it'll also add so much depth in the color to the wings because every single individual feather goes from a really dark purple or blue through to, well, pretty much white. And with that happening on each individual feather, that is a big range of color going on there, and it'll just add a lot of depth, and hopefully these will end up looking really epic when I'm done. So you can see there I've just finished doing the first stage of creating the blend, but the base coat color that I used for this part of the wings was clear purple, which is just about my darkest purple, and it went over a black prime so that the base of each of these feathers will be really dark. And then to do the first stage of the blend, I mixed into the clear purple a bit of twilight purple, which is a slightly brighter purple. So it would have been roughly a 50-50 mix. And then I just started painting it onto each individual feather, but I left probably the 25% of each feather closest to the base exposed and painted from that point through to the tip. So you had the first 25% of each individual feather was the clear purple, and then the rest of it was the clear purple, twilight purple mixture. Then to do the next stage of the blend, I went to straight twilight purple and repainted each individual feather, but just didn't cover all of the clear purple, twilight purple mixture. So then I had a clear purple layer at the base, then the clear purple, twilight purple mixture, and then the straight twilight purple. Then you can see the layer that I did just then, I mixed in some amethyst purple to start to lighten it off a little bit. Now we're into straight amethyst purple, so we're getting lighter and lighter, but every layer that gets a little bit lighter, I just reduce the amount of surface area that I'm covering so that I'm getting closer and closer to just the tip. And that's getting this really nice blend happening from the base of each individual feather, which is the really dark purple, and as you get closer and closer to the tip, it's just getting lighter and lighter. On the bigger feathers that stand out a little bit more, where I'm covering more area with each of these layers, just because each feather is bigger, I am just doing some slight blending just by feathering out the edge of each layer, so cleaning off the bristles and then just feathering out the edge a little bit just to blend it back, which you can see I'm doing here, just to blend it back into that previous layer so that the transition from one color to the next is nice and smooth. But on those smaller ones where there isn't a lot of distance to work with, I'm not worrying about feathering those edges out at all because you can't even really see the blend at all, especially once it's in the middle of the table. And now just to really boost that contrast between the dark purple at the base of each feather and then the tip of each feather, I've just mixed a little bit of white into the amethyst purple just to really lighten off the tip. And as you can see, I'm really only just painting the very tip of each feather so that we just, like I said, boost that contrast, because the greater the difference in color between the base and tip of each feather, the more obvious the blend will be and the more each individual feather is going to stand out. And so those are the steps that I went through to paint each individual feather. Obviously, I haven't shown you in this video me painting every single feather because that would just take way too long. I've shown you just how I'm painting the same ones over and over again, but it's just the exact same process with all of them. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how I painted each of these feathers. And now you can see that I'm starting to do the exact same process on the blue feathers, and it is no different. It's just with blues instead of purples. So I obviously base coated with that really dark blue over the black prime so that the base of each feather will be really dark, and then just mix in a slightly lighter blue, but just don't completely cover up the feather. Leave some of the previous layer exposed at the base, then lighten it off a bit more, repaint the feather, but again reduce the amount of surface area that you're covering on each individual feather so that as each layer gets lighter and lighter, you're getting closer and closer to just painting the tip. And I think this technique works really well. It's very simple. I had no trouble at all doing this, but it is definitely one of those techniques that you do though where if you look at one individual feather, it looks fine. It doesn't look anything special. It still looks pretty cool because you've got such a good blend from a really dark color through to a light color, but this absolutely shines when you put all of those feathers together and you look at them in one big group because you have so much depth of the color. When you consider how dark the darkest purple is, and then you go through to pretty much painting in pure white, or with the blue, how dark the darkest blue is through to the white, it is a massive range of color, and you have all of that happening on every individual feather, and I think that's why this ends up working so well, even though it's such a simple technique, because you do just have so much depth in the color. So I don't really have too much else to add there about how I painted the feathers, other than just to say that this is a bit of an exercise in patience, I suppose. I really enjoyed going through this and painting each individual feather because as you're getting lighter and lighter, you can gradually see the look that you're going for coming out. But it does take a little bit of time. It would have taken me, I don't know, 20 to 25 minutes to base coat the entire mini, but then this was probably, at least an hour or so just doing the feathers alone. So it does take a little while, but I think the look that you get at the end is definitely worth it. And this mini in the middle of the table looks absolutely awesome. So we haven't gotten to the point in the campaign yet where she comes out, but I'm really looking forward to being able to put her down in the middle of the table because she, even though she's not one of the biggest minis, she will still tower over the other ones, and those wings are just going to look really cool and epic. So that'll be lots and lots of fun to see her come out. But I'm just going to leave you to watch the rest of it now because I've explained as much as I think I need to how I'm painting her. So I hope you just enjoy watching the rest of these wings coming out. So here I'm now just starting to do a really simple highlight of these rocks just to make the detail and texture stand out a little bit. So they were base coated with stone grey back at the start of the video. Now I'm just throwing a Nuln Oil wash over the top. That's just going to flow into all of those recesses and cracks and crevices just to darken them off a little bit. And now I'm coming back with the stone grey, which was that base coat colour. This is just going to go over all of sort of the flat surfaces and more of those raised edges just to make them stand out a little bit more. And then I just finish it off with a lighter grey just on the edges that are standing out the most, just kind of edge highlighting, but not really, but just picking out some of those more protruding edges just so that there's a little bit of variety in the color. And that is it. Very simple, because like I said earlier, pretty much all of the time that I wanted to spend was in those wings, but I did just want to bring out some of that detail in these rocks a little bit more. Alright, so just as I do these last couple of highlights on the rocks and then paint the base black just to clean it up a little bit, our Winged NPC is done. So thank you very much for checking out another one of my videos. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I had lots and lots of fun painting this character. It was really fun to bring out all of those different colours in the wings, and I'm super happy with how she looks in the middle of the table. Like I said earlier, really looking forward to the point in the campaign where she comes out, because putting her in the middle with those wings outstretched and that real good depth of colour, that's going to look really epic. So really looking forward to that part. So if you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it that you might be able to use in your own painting, please do give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date with future videos as they keep coming out. And also please stop by the Facebook, Twitter and Instagram accounts for this channel, where you can see what I'm painting and what videos are going to be coming out. And if you do use anything from any of my videos in your own painting, whether it's a technique or a color scheme, I would love it if you could post it to Twitter or Instagram and tag the plastic canvas in it, because I love seeing how my videos have helped you guys. So yeah, please make sure that you do that. But that'll do us for today. We're going to leave it there. So this is Matt from the Plastic Canvas signing out. Happy painting, everyone. Cheers.